Do you want the blinds? Do you want the blinds shut so we can see our audience better, or see this in here? Is that bothering you out?
It's not bothering me.
Okay.
It bothers you, but-
No, fine.
Okay, call this work session to order, Wednesday, May 2nd, open for visitor comments.
Steve Topaz, it's the question hour. The work that's going on Columbia Boulevard right now, repairing or redoing the repair on the storm drainage so the funeral home isn't flooded out, and the water coming from the west side of 7th Street will get there. Hopefully will get done quickly. The question I have is the same misengineering that's draining water from 4th Street and 3rd Street between the two, which floods my basement. It's gotten to the point where a number of my neighbors are digging ditches beside their houses to route the water directly into the backyards rather than through their homes. Do you have an idea when you're going to correct the drainage problem between 3rd and 4th Street?
No comment?
None on that, just a correction that the work going on 7th and Columbia is the sewer line, it's not a storm line. Just so you know, Steve. It's a sewer issue.
Okay. Any other visitor comments? Okay, let's go to Annual Arts and Cultural Commission report. Hi there.
Hello, my name is Jen Farrington. I'm the chair of the Arts and Cultural Commission. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Lisa Brooke, and I'm a member of the Arts and Cultural Coalition.
Thank you so much, Mayor, councilors, St. Helens community, city staff, for your time today to review the projects that we've been going through for the fiscal year 17-18. We put together this compilation just as a way to give a brief overview of all the things that we have completed, that we have going on still and recurring from year to year. And hopefully you can get a sense for where we have come from and where we're going. I'm really excited about it. We are currently a team of 7 commissioners. We have 6 who are currently new within the last year. And so we're really new, and that opportunity gives us a lot of room for starting fresh and looking forward and seeing what we have done and where we can go moving forward. We've got a lot of great things that have been completed and create our foundation, and we're really excited about where to take that. We currently have completed, for this fiscal year, we've completed 2 projects. We've hosted 4 types of recurring events, and we've begun 4 projects which are currently in progress. In an effort to build our team and clarify our focus, the commission has started to begun kind of a workshopping idea to figure out what our mission statement is. Part of this is also to communicate our goals with the community. This is just the beginning. This is after reading the St. Helens Municipal Code for the ACC and really digesting what that means for us and distilling it down so that we have a really quick, pointed idea that coalesces and gets us really focused on what are we doing and how do we communicate it with the community so that we can be more understood. So this is just the beginning part of that. 2018 will mark our 8th annual trash can painting competition. In this last summer, these are photos and the experience from our 7th annual. And we're really excited about this project. As I said, this has been going on for 7 years. This will make the 8th year. The partnerships that we've got with the Parks Commission and Public Works, we're really excited about it. We see a lot of opportunities moving forward, and we're really excited about expanding that and seeing what else we can do. We're particularly excited about 2018 because we have really wrapped our head around and solved some problems dealing with excess products that come from producing art. And so every year we make more products and we put more products into circulation. And so we've really wrapped our heads around how do we contain those numbers and rotate them through the parks so that they're fresh, they look great, and we're recycling and reusing cans moving forward. So this last year, 2017, those 19 cans were not coated with anti-graffiti. This coming summer, 2018, we'll limit them to 12 cans, and they will not get anti-graffiti paint. What that means is that years forward, we can paint over them and reuse those cans. So we're going to create a cycle of beautiful, fresh-looking cans out in the parks. We've talked about making that rotation part of the plan so that we address that. And also, taking off the Ferris wheel of good-looking cans, taking off the cans that look like they're ready to be retired, and just keeping the cans looking fresh out there. So we've really addressed that and taken some time to consider what that means. We've also changed the way that our awards will be for this coming summer, hopefully to bring in more younger folks and open up the awards and entice more people to come on out. So we're really excited about that. And once again, we've got a lot of people to thank for this project. These cans this particular year were donated from the Michael Curry Design Studio, and we've reached out to them to see if we can get more cans from them coming up this summer too. So we're really excited about that. So 2017 saw the completion of the Gateway Phase 2 project, and that's a really big deal for us. We're really excited about marking that completion. And in 2018, we have on our plans to do an interpretive sign for Phase 1. So the obelisks with the blue lights, similar to Phase 2, where there's an interpretive sign that you see on the sidewalk where you can go by and read a little bit of something about the art. We'd like to follow that pattern with Phase 1 so that people can gather more information and be more clear about what they're looking at. We think it's a really nice way to address the interest that the public may have in the art and really encourage that curiosity. And as you can see, there are a lot of people to thank for this project. This is a really big deal, and we're really proud of it. In 2017, thanks to the generous donation of our retired ACC member, Diane Dillard, we were able to create an award for Jeff Kemp of Pacific Stainless Products to thank him for his generous donations and in-kind contributions to not only the Gateway projects, but the ACC in general. And we're really proud to be able to reach out to the community and just acknowledge that and say thank you. In 2017, we did our first annual Trunk or Treat mini pumpkin painting in combination with the St. Helens Police Department. We were really excited about that. It was a huge success, so much so that we ran out of pumpkins. And we're really excited about doing it again in 2018. We've planned to expand that a little bit, so we're really looking forward to that. It was really positive.
It was a good turnout.
It was a really great turnout overall. I mean, everyone was really happy there, and no greater compliment than to have run out of supplies. Yeah. So that was a really great experience, and free for the kids too. So we have a bike rack that we're going to be doing a public hearing for. This bike rack was designed by students in St. Helens High School in the metal and fabrication class. And we're planning on installing it in front of the future food bank, which is the current Feed and Seed on Columbia Boulevard. And the public hearing for this will be May 22nd. The blues and folk music workshops will be led by Joe Siemens and Ben Hunter. We're really excited about this. This is a terrific opportunity for anyone in the community and surrounding communities who may be interested in music may not have experience doing any kind of music, and may just have their curiosity piqued and would like to jump in. It's a really manageable cost. It's, I think, somewhere in the $30 range. It's for anyone 10 years and up. It's 3 days, an hour each day, and it culminates in a concert with the two musicians who will be teaching the class. And it's going to be a really exciting experience. There's going to be a total of 60 students, the opportunity for 60 people. And again, these students range in ages from 10 up. So I'm planning on taking the class, and we're reaching out to a lot of people to see who else can be a part of it as well. And the Downtown Mural Project, another one that we're really excited about. And I'd like to hand over the mic to Lisa. This is Lisa's project. And just in brief, I will say that this project has begun. It will complete in the following fiscal year. And it is another great example of partnerships. And we're really pushing the partnerships in the ACC across St. Helens, across the city, across the county. And so this is a perfect example of that. Lisa, do you want to take the mic?
I'm sorry, my voice is a little bit off today. As I mentioned before, when I came to greet you all and give you a little interesting information about the program, we have finally gotten to the stage where we've selected our theme, which is the big excitement that people have been waiting for, and the kids had combined a group of 140 words that were meaningful to them, and there was much conversation and interesting discussion as they whittled it down to 15 words. And this process was one that Michael Curry Design had encouraged us to use. And so I thought it was a good reflection as to something that we gained from our Michael Curry field trip experience. So then this is a very democratic group, and the kids selected in order of votes received the words hope, nature, rising up, galaxy, and then I gave them each the opportunity to choose one list of the words that would be in their own personal word. If something spoke to them personally, I didn't want to negate that, or I wanted to allow them to have that much freedom. And the children will use one or all of the words in their piece, but it will be a direct response to these words. So it's pretty broad, and but I think it's very positive, and I was very interested that hope was their outstanding first choice. And I just was very proud of that. And then the other thing I wanted to add today that was not included in any information before is that I've just received information that the Columbia County Cultural Coalition has just sponsored us with a $500 grant. And so that's our third major donor. 4-H has sponsored us with $500, and then the Arts Commission has given us $700. And then there's a lot of in-kind donations, especially Sherwin-Williams.
Nice.
Yeah, so just I want to thank everybody for that, and yeah.
And the quick brief on this will be a private wall. It's the old school, and it'll have great view from downtown. And this combination of, it's a workshop for these kids, and so yes, it will culminate in this project, and it's this beautiful mural in the end. But I really want to emphasize the fact that this is not just about a mural. This is about the experience for these kids, and this is an amazing, amazing project that walks these kids through the how-tos and what is it to just doodle and what is it to make a doodle something as big as a mural, and how do you go through that process? And the kids will come to a city council meeting and an ACC meeting, and so it's really a holistic approach. And I think this is a good example of where a lot of our energies are going moving forward. And along those lines of reaching out and making sure that we're connected to the community, we have an outreach subcommittee, and we have begun, we've now gotten 2 of these arts, culture, and conversation meetings out there. We've got a 3rd in May. It'll be May 15th. We've just solidified that we're holding it at Starbucks, on May 15th from 5 to 8. The May topic will be, what kind of art and creative projects do you want in St. Helens? The idea is to just create a casual location for people to come and connect. So I know that, myself included, this kind of environment can be intimidating. And so we really want to make sure that we provide the opportunity for the community to connect with us, and just make us more accessible and remind people that we're just people, and we're just trying to do our thing and make the community better. And the more that we can connect with people and build these partnerships, the better off we all are. That is the current feeling in the group right now. So these arts, culture, and conversation meetings will happen once a month. We've got plans to do it through the end of the year. We put out a survey that was out there in the world for about 2 months just to figure out what time and day of the week work best for people. So we really tried to go out of our way to figure out how to make this thing work and how to connect. The Kindness Rocks project is a national project. I think it's actually international as well now. It's a project started in Cape Cod by Megan Murphy. And we are now officially on the map for the Kindness Projects, for the Kindness Rocks project. We are going to do a bunch of pop-up tables around town, 13 nights during the happy hour. 4th of July, I think we'll have a table while the cans are being painted, just to kind of grab people who are interested in making marks in some way. We got a bunch of rocks and paints as well, so we got a way to capture people who are interested in being creative, but didn't necessarily have a design selected for a can. And then we're going to be part of the library's rock kickoff event. So the idea for these is you create inspiring objects and you leave them around the community for people to find. And so it's a really positive interaction, and the idea is to build community just by doing something altruistic. And here we have the This Is Us program, and this is a project that was started by Joan Youngberg, who was previously an ACC commissioner, and it is in coordination with the Columbia Arts Guild. And I'm guessing you guys, I know that she came here and spoke with you guys. I think that perhaps a lot of you have already painted some of these houses. This has been really successful. I'm pretty sure she just hit the 500 plus mark on little houses. And so the goal is, again, in partnership she's going to take all of these little marks that each of us in the community make and, talk about the sum of the whole and put it together as one installation, a sculpture of some kind, still to be determined, and it will be a temporary installation. The details on that we're still working out. So this is another example of a project that we've begun that will come to a close in the next fiscal year. And so we've been doing a lot of these, she's been holding these projects all over the place, and the arts, culture, and conversation meetings that we've been pairing them with some kind of creative event to help break the ice. The first one was with the Kindness Rocks, and the second one was with the This Is Us, St. Helens. And in this way, we help people break the ice so they can feel a little bit more comfortable and talk about whatever they want to talk about, and also support the This Is Us project. And so we'll be doing This Is Us with the Arts, Culture, and Conversation meetings through July. So May, June, and July, you'll be able to paint with us there. So much is changing, and we're really excited about trying to embrace a lot of this new change. One of these, an example of this is we're really trying to embrace the new video system that the city has put in place. We're really excited about this. It's helping us focus on streamlining our meetings. We've really focused on putting together systems that help the ACC work moving forward so that we're not constantly reinventing the wheel. We're thinking bigger. We're thinking longer term. And we're also working very hard to provide the public with more information. And I have to say that the new video system has really been a great catalyst to this. So I'm really excited about that, and I want to thank you guys for making that happen. So with that said, there's a lot of us who are new, and we have a lot to learn, and we have very full plates, but we're really excited about that. We're so excited about the new opportunities that we have coming for the new fiscal year for 18-19. And the one thing that I would like to ask is that in the fiscal year 18-19, well, in the new budget for the ACC, we put out there the hopes that we could use some of the ACC funds to put toward commissioners' education, specifically towards something like the grant workshop coming up as a great, easy example to point to. As we're looking forward, we're trying to find a way to keep us sustainable, and as we know, a lot of the work that we do, we secure grants to do that. And it feels as though educating ourselves, the commissioners, to learn how to reach out and be more successful and less intimidated by these grants would be helpful in the long run. I was looking through the rules, and it seems like perhaps there's a bit of question as to whether or not I need to get some kind of approval. So I just want to put that out there. I don't know if that is something that we deal with now or later, but I wanted to make sure, now that I have your undivided attention, that I get to ask you. So thank you very much for all of your time. I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing for us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, can we, questions? Garbage cans,
Yes.
great project. I wanted to do this eons ago, and you guys got it going, so great. Just replaced them every year. Some of them are great cans, especially like, I think we have first, second, third place.
We do, yeah. And
Maybe those are kept for time, and maybe instead of overpaying them or whatnot, our extra cans, we can reach out to our other communities. Maybe might want to share them with us. I don't know.
repeat that last part. I was with you until the
Sharing those cans with Scappoose, Rainier,
Oh,
Vernonia.
So that's an interesting idea, and I think the way that we're looking at the cans is that any can that is still in good condition is still in the running to be out there in the world. And we've, through some research and speaking with some people in the know, it's come to our understanding that there are approximately in the summer, I know that there are more cans put out there. I think there's something like another 10 or dozen or something put out in the summer. And I think all said and done, at its max, it's somewhere around the 30-something-ish number, 36. So the idea is, how do we keep the good-looking cans at a max of 36?
Right.
So we're trying to stay open enough so that we have the ability to just look for the good cans. So if there is an award winner that hasn't aged well, then I think we need to allow for the fact that it may not need.
Those things happen.
Sure, absolutely. But the approach that we're taking is one that allows for the good-looking cans to be out there, and how do we address the rotation so that we can be more direct and quick with it.
There's plenty of cans. I keep track of this because I watch them all the time. But sharing them with the other cities would be a great outreach project.
I agree, and we actually have discussed at some point when there's going to be, I think in the beginning, a significant number of cans that just need to be retired because they're
Right.
done, they're rusted or whatever. And so we can
I agree
allow
with
for
all
those.
that,
Yeah.
so that's fine.
And so whenever, at some point in that rotation, there will be in this off cycle of cans, a set of good-looking cans that still have life, and we want to allow for the fact that those can have life somewhere else. So I agree. I think you're right on with that.
And then the Muriel, great idea. It's just, do we have a plan for the upkeep or the replacement of that 10, 15 years down the road?
It's
May I take this?
yeah, please.
You know, it's been an interesting part of the process as I speak with the kids and we go through all these tremendous amount of hours that the kids are putting in. From the very first meeting, it's been very clear that this is an experience that it's about the process, and we paint the mural from August 6th to August 12th, and then it's birthed, and then it's out there in the public, and it's on private property. And we agreed as a group from the very first meeting that we're okay with the fact that if it lasts 3 days or 3 months or 3 years or 33 years, that we're okay with that in terms of if somebody chooses in the future to paint over it in the mural world, that's called buffing, that's something that can happen. And that I feel like the sponsorship that we've received has been a holistic type of support for the experience, the 5-month-long experience that it takes to get to the point that we're painting on August 6th. So we've addressed that as a group and been really clear with each other and about that. So the kids are prepped for that. I hope through changes in ownership of this building in the future that it's maintained to some degree, but that's not part of our limited budget, and that's not a constraint that we put on the current property owner. Does that answer your question okay?
Well, that was my point is how do we, you know, who does take care of it whenever that time happens to where it doesn't look like art anymore or whatever the case, and nobody's doing anything with it, and somebody should do something with it.
Well, in our process and as a commitment to 4-H, our group is creating a packet of like a how to do a community mural packet as a 4-H club. So it's going to include videography. We've been documenting everything that we do in written way and in photos so that we can repeat this as an annual project, and also that 4-H can put this packet out to the rest other counties in the state so that other counties may learn from our experience. So if what happens is in 3 years people are tired of that mural and we're still going strong, then maybe that mural gets buffed and we work on that wall again if we have the opportunity with the new owners. So that's how we view that.
And just to bring that point home, it's private wall.
Right.
So in as much as anyone else's facade of their building would need repair, it's the building property owner's responsibility, is my understanding. But the beautiful part about this project is that it can be repeated, and Lisa's going out of her way to make sure that this is something that we can do again, whether it's on that
and
location or somewhere
I hope
else.
all that happens.
Yeah, me too.
And honestly, with the dollar amount that we're working with this year, it suits our budget to know that the potential for it to be buffed over at some point exists. This is not a $15,000 wall.
Yeah.
This is shoestring budget with a lot of volunteer manpower and a lot of kid energy, and so I feel like that our budget is commensurate with the level of commitment that exists with the current property owner.
I guess my message here is that there's been a lot of things donated or they've had us do it or whatever the case is, and over time those things deteriorate, need to be upgraded. Sometimes the people think that we should pay for upgrading those things or keeping them alive and whatnot, and so just want as a message for all of your projects to think about the future, how it's going to be taken care of and the longevity of it and whatnot.
It really relates to the trash can conversation, actually. that we don't want anything that's out in the public that we're part of to look bad. So it's in our best interest to have a do-over, like with the trash cans, rather than let something sit out there and get faded by the sun and in 10 years look like something we're not proud of anymore.
Okay. I know Councilor President Morton's got a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for stepping forward with one of the most inspiring reports that I've seen in the 12 years that I've been counselor here. It's very interesting to me to see the new change, you reaching out with a very focused mission and a very focused goals in the community and touching seemingly all bases. Performing arts, the fine arts, the activities with the youth. I'm very encouraged. And I think that just knowing what the makeup of your council and the two individuals that represent the staff and the council here that are assigned to your commission, wow, it's very impressive to me. So
Thank you very much.
best of luck.
Thank you.
We're very proud of you.
Just a little added, I'll give you a prime example. In '06, we had the bicentennial, Lewis and Clark bicentennial here. We commissioned a canoe to be dug by the community and taken care of and whatnot, and we raised funds, and
Isn't that your canoe, Keith?
it's not my canoe. People would believe, and sometimes I would think it's my canoe, but the
truth is Willow Bill believes it has a life of its own.
okay. So where I'm going with this is over the years, I personally have spent thousands of dollars on that canoe to keep it nice. I'm coming to the end of my lifespan here, and I'm going to be handing that thing off. I don't know where the future of that canoe lies, because I'm not going to be here to take care of it. So that's what I'm getting at is, when you make something that's really nice or something, or you want it to keep.
I think
You
Keith
gotta
is
have a
offering
plan
you
for
guys a
it.
canoe.
Well, funny, Willow Bill is on the map. At some point, we're going to be.
Oh,
talking-
Willow's always in the map somewhere.
Yeah.
He's usually lost, but he's on the map.
Someone's map somewhere. Hey, but your point's not lost. And I think that in the larger picture for projects in general, your point is certainly driven home. Specific to this mural project, I want to emphasize how, though it does have a final mark on a prominent space that happens to be private property, I really want to emphasize that this is a workshop of experience.
Right.
And in as much as we want to explore art that is of the more permanent nature, we also want to be supportive of art that has a limited lifespan and is potentially, though we're not looking at it like a training wall, you could imagine down the line it is something that has a limited lifespan and
Yes,
gets reused
and
is an expression of
I was
work.
just using that example
Absolutely.
for you guys because you're a new council. To
Thank you.
Keep these things in your mind as you're doing things.
Thank you very much. And we do have, we've identified our subcommittee for looking at maintenance of art, and we're still kind of wrapping our heads around what does that mean and how do we make that a more efficient process.
Right. And I've seen a lot of art wasted around here because it wasn't taken care of.
Point well taken.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Where do the winners go of the trash can painting? The 1, 2, and 3.
That is a wonderful question. Moving forward, those 1, 2, and 3s will go out into the field right away. That has not been the practice. And as last summer, the trash can painting competition was my first experience with the ACC for the most part. And so I was just starting to understand what parts of the cycle were in place and what pieces weren't really fully identified as either as someone's responsibility. So I take responsibility for that learning process and not fully getting that piece yet. And coming around to this summer, now we've really asked a bunch of questions that needed hard answers, and we've come to understand that we need to get very clear on distributing those cans right away. And that means swapping them out, right? So we now have a better understanding for how do we make sure that the winners go right out in the field right away. So the brief answer is they will go out in the field. Historically, that hasn't been a very clear process.
How many spots do we have just a couple down here at Columbia View for trash cans?
Yeah, I think there's 2 or 3 down in the park. We typically don't try to put any up on the sidewalk because people use them for their home garbage if we do them there. And then there's 2 or 3 out in the veneer area.
If there was 3 down at Columbia View, that would be actually a nice little area. Just a recommendation for a year for the top 3.
Generally during 13 nights, there's probably 8 or 9 around.
Yeah.
But as
maybe you could even put a little plaque or something. I don't know. This is something you guys can decide. But just a recommendation, and thank you guys for. I see a special thanks to all of us, but no, thank you, and thank you to Michael Curry for reaching out. He's really good about working with the youth. So
he's been amazing.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Yep. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep. So I noticed I'm going to go back up to the agenda a little bit because I noticed we had a couple other people come in. And our visitor comments were quick and short. Is there anybody here with visitor comments? Come on up.
Hi, Bill Allen, St. Helens. I was working on a project a couple years ago, and we needed some drums. So I went over to the local oil facility up there on Highway 30, and I went to the one over there by Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know which the one it was. It's been too many years, but they get drums going through there pretty repeatedly. And I'm willing to bet if you did an outreach to them and said, hey, would you be willing to donate to the community? They got drums.
Yeah.
They got drums. So.
We've used some of theirs in the past.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then the other thing is, Silverton has an awesome array of murals all over the place. So if the question of liability and maintenance and all that, you might want to talk to Silverton and see how they handle that. Yeah.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
Come on up. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Ken Forshear. I have Gracewood Design over here at 289 First Street. I make canvas rugs. I'm also a friend of Willow Bill's, and Keith's comment is timely because it's coming to that time of year again when the canoe comes back out and kids go for rides, adults go for rides. Lots of people get the history directly from Willow Bill of St. Helens and its association with the Lewis and Clark expedition and the story of how the canoe went to St. Louis, and all that's going to be told. This year, the St. Helens Foundation was dissolved, which used to be the umbrella organization that insured the canoe. So we're scrambling to get insurance, and I've talked to local insurance agencies here in town about that, and we're getting bids. We're going to have a fundraiser over at Running Dogs Brewery on Father's Day, which I believe is July 17th. It's a Sunday. And I'm sure Willow Bill will be in touch with Keith about getting the canoe there because it's going to be the centerpiece of that presentation. And we're going to be looking just to get, people to throw $5 in a bucket or something, hopefully pay for the insurance so that we can take the kids out for rides again. Everybody has a waiver that they can sign, a disclaimer, but there's also an overarching insurance requirement for to protect, I suppose, the city who owns the canoe and also just because that's what you do, to be responsible. So just wanted to put that on out there on the calendar that we'll be looking to fundraise for that. I think it's unfortunate that that insurance went away. I don't understand how the St. Helens Foundation worked or what it was. I just know that it's no longer around. But I think in the future it would be neat if this city could appreciate that asset that it has, that speaks of its history, was made by its children. And Willow Bill is really a wonderful emissary for that message each year, coming back here and getting that canoe from keeping it from being mothballed and putting it out in the public. It just brightens up everybody, everywhere it goes, everywhere it lands. Everybody's like, wow, what's that? And it's the St. Helens Flying Eagle. So it really gets the name of the city out there. So in the future, I don't want to make any proposals right now, but I'd hope that something like the St. Helens Foundation could be
Reassembled?
reformed, and that the canoe could find a happy home where it's on display when it's not in use, somewhere here in St. Helens.
I've got a comment on that.
Okay.
The prior owners of Scappoose Bay Kayak
Mhm.
were making kind of gestures to have that on display in their area. Now, they sold and did not pursue that, but on display with, so it isn't mothballed, so it is in the public eye, and work with the groups that initiated that. Well, I know Keith was involved in that, and you're involved in that, with going out in probably a more safe area in the bay to give kids rides and that kind of thing. I know I talked with Steve and Bonnie quite a bit about that, and it wasn't nothing nurtured from that. It was just talk. And so they sold and went other, but that was, I just wanted to share that
Okay.
from 8 years ago,
Good.
6 to 8 years ago. Okay.
That's an encouraging place to look for
So
another possibility with the new owners.
Just a possibility. And they were very active community members, and they wanted to put their heart in the right place and contribute. And they saw a need that they could help out.
Okay, well, thank you.
So
Thank you all
some
for,
more comments on that
Sure.
since we're here, and I've, I guess, neglected to bring all this up because I've been busy with other projects. But this body now owns that canoe, and it's up to this body to let anybody use that canoe, which hasn't been asked this year yet. So, and we are finally working on a riverfront project here where that canoe could be displayed one of these days very
Oh,
prominently.
that's a good point, Keith.
So somebody needs to come and ask this body if they can even use that canoe.
well, I didn't realize that, but given that
Then if
case, I would like to personally request that that canoe can come out for use this year because I was planning on paddling around in it myself as well as,
We're going to need a plan
Oh,
of
yeah.
what it's going to be, where it's going to go, what it's doing, and all that
You
before
want
we
a
can make a
GPS tracking
decision.
device put on it too.
yeah. We'll
And
get it all
So-
done. Epoxied into the bow, yes.
It is. I mean, it has a real legacy now, and as much as I would love to see it out there too, I would also love to see it last for a long, long time. So all those things need to be thought about.
When would you need to have that travel plan?
Well, I know June is coming right around
It
the
is
corner,
around the
so
corner. When is the next opportunity for me to
our
present
next
that?
meeting, we better have something here. 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now.
If the city owns the canoe now, wouldn't it just be insured under the city's policies?
Possibly.
Chris would have to add it into the city's policy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, should we check into that, Keith? I don't know. Do you have the ability to do that?
It was already. I mean, he
Your one
originally
last
insured
hurrah
it
with
for them,
the
so-
canoe. Your one last hurrah. I think that's a good point about we potentially could use that canoe because I don't know how many people know this. Warrior Rock, which is the tip of Sophie's Island, got its name because I forget who it was who sailed up there, famous captain, and all of a sudden they were surrounded by 20 canoes full of Indians. They said, "Do not fight." So just they were beached right there. Said, "Do not fight." And when they pulled away, the captain said, "I'm calling that Warrior Rock," because of the Indian warriors that they were surrounded by. That is a true story.
Cool.
Warrior Rock. Yep,
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
No comment on that one.
it is. Look it up, Keith.
No comment.
Okay. Annual library board report.
Okay, so I am Nancy Heron. I am the past board chair. So I really should have been here last year to talk with y'all. But since I had to be out of town, Mary Ellen Funderburg stepped up. So turnaround is fair play, and this year I'm stepping in for her and have the privilege of being before you. So I appreciate the opportunity to tell you what the library board has been doing this past year on our progress on our strategic plan. So our four working groups have met separately. We've met with community groups, with providers of services during our board meetings, at the library, at locations in the community, and outside the community as necessary. So so the communications group has worked with Crystal to discuss social media plans and implications regarding the library having a unique social media presence outside of the city's pages, taking into account our new EDGE initiative and the public library standards. So this will take some staff time to initiate. The community partners have a goal of working with groups in the community to share information on events and services that are available for the benefit of the community. So this is going to be accomplished by an upgraded brochure display area in the lobby, and will require some staff time and involvement to create that and keep it current. So many of the groups we talked to during this process acknowledged that there was a need for adult literacy classes, but none of them were aware that any were available in this area. So the facilities group, I guess I could look this way, huh? The long-term goal is to remodel and enlarge the building or build on a different site. And you can see this is like a 10, 20 years goal. And this is due to a lack of space for our youth activities and our public meeting space. So the short-term goals to make the library more inviting, comfortable, and functional, based on the feedback from our community retreat, are painting the entire interior of the library with a color scheme that would closely mirror that to be used for the city wayfinding signage. Developmentally appropriate reconfiguration of the children's area based on recommendations obtained from a childhood specialist. They got plans and cost estimates to improve the emergency egress from the children's room and the western portion of the adult reading room. They evaluated purchasing new chairs that would be more suitable for use at the computers and for the public meetings. They obtained quotes for improved exterior lighting and additional security cameras around the library. They also evaluated improvements to the lobby area and eventual replacement of all furniture, including that in the library. General cleanup and declutter of the exterior and interior areas. So some of these ideas have been settled on, but will require staff time and funding that has not yet been identified. So the last group is access to library services, and you've met with this group. You'll see the accomplishments listed. They brought those to you. They were approved and have been implemented. So this year they're working on changing documentation required to obtain a library card, account access to the via smartphone, a bag and backpack and locker policy rollout, and enhancement of current library website. So some of the activities going on in the library, the Civics for Adults has been a very informative, well-attended event. The titles have been Misinformation, Fake News, and Political Propaganda. Second was Citizen Activism 101, Making Change Happen. Next one was the influence of the Constitution on political conversation. And the final one is beyond voting, elections and campaign financing. And this is scheduled for September 20th. So there's been a lot of involvement with the speaker and the participants and small discussion groups, so it's been interesting. OSU Extension has had classes on mushrooms, heirloom seeds, insects, and furry freeloaders in your yard. These also were very informative, quite humorous at times, and there's usually a question and answer session at the end for people to get involved. So the Independent Author Day is a chance when the local writers connect and learn about the writing industry. And you'll see that the staff visits the Meadow Park Assisted Living area. They share stories, poetries, and song. So the Worldwide Knit in Public Day has knitters, crocheters, and spinners all working on their projects in the library. And a spinoff from this is the Fiber Fanatics, who meet weekly at the library. And they provide informal instruction to beginners and, of course, socialize while they're at it. Genealogists meet to learn how to research your family history and what to do with inherited memorabilia. I think it's called decluttering. The St. Helens Garden Club and the Columbia County Museum Association co-hosted slides of the Portland Historical Gardens. And then the Columbia County Reads returned after 3 years, and they emphasized the books of the Scappoose author Willie Vlotton. And my understanding, he had a very well-attended event just this past week. So this was one of our meetings with the Civics for Adults. Are identifying mushrooms, which is always interesting. I love to go mushrooming, but I won't go without somebody that knows what they're looking for.
Wise.
I prefer to live. So the one about seeds was really good, and then, of course, everybody was interested in how to get rid of the deer and the raccoons that we all know so well. Okay, so our ever-popular kids and youth programs. So Gretchen seems to be everywhere doing everything. Her Make It offerings were expanded and include the DIY and STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and math, workshops for kids ages 6 to 14. And these include stop-motion animation. And this year they used iPads that were funded by Friends of the Library. They have classes on sewing, DIY musical instruments, robotics, Legos, and many more. Her partnerships with areas, local groups, include the area preschool story times, a community activities calendar for families, activities at our summer meals, a library orientation for our McBride Title I families, book talks at Columbia City Schools, and Middle School Oregon Battle of the Books tournament, and intro to databases for Author Academy 5th graders. So a note on the Battle of the Books, one of our board members, Marcia Catton, was the middle school coach for a group that went to the state this year. I hear it was very informative for them. Hopefully they'll stick together and try it again. Gretchen has partnered with a high school teacher for a 3D printing and vinyl cutting workshop for middle school students. She offers 3 weekly story times, teen babysitting training, which includes CPR certification. She can be seen everywhere at the Early Childhood Screening Fair, the County Fair and Radio, the Kiwanis Children's Fair. She also manages a blog for a professional organization for young adult librarians in Oregon. And if that's not enough, she's updating the youth book collections, such as the popular graphic novel collection, our Spanish language materials. And with help of Friends of the Library, again, she has replaced copies of older books such as the popular Beverly Cleary books. So here are, let's see, some of the things that she does with the kids. And of course the story time for stuffed toys. Okay, so new in the building, if you've been in the building, you've seen the glass display cabinets in the lobby. These were from an Art Guild fundraising effort and a Columbia County Cultural Coalition grant. So the Guild holds their monthly meetings in the library's auditorium, and last year their Spring into Art event was held in the lobby. So our board member, Barbara Lines, is very active in the Guild. So Columbia County CCMH hosts weekly board games in the lobby. And hopefully you've seen the World War I posters that are in the auditorium. They have really enhanced the look and feel of the auditorium. Really nice. And then a grant also allowed the ukulele orchestra to buy microphones and an amplifier. So all of these events were spearheaded by our local partners. So here's, it's hard to see the glass case, but this is some of the work displayed. This is how the auditorium looks much nicer. These are very interesting posters. So the staff has been very busy. I know you've heard about the EDGE initiative from Margaret. Our library has completed the assessment and identified a set of recommendations to implement. And this project was headed by Brenda Heron-Kanega, who also serves on the statewide Database Licensing Advisory Committee. They advise state groups on the drafting of requests for proposal, review of those proposals, recommendations, and allocation of costs to participating libraries. So then we, St. Helens and Scappoose, initiated a project to create the Union Catalog that will display online resources for both libraries simultaneously. And with the Passport card that you may be familiar with, you can get a Scappoose library card in addition to a St. Helens card. So I went over to try it out and checked out a book on tape and got home and scrambled trying to find a CD player. I actually listened to it the first time in my truck. So, other projects by the board. We had two members, Leanne Murray and Melissa Gailrun Magi, who started our book club. And it's been very interesting and successful. What we decided to do was start with quarterly meetings. And then their idea was very inventive, I thought. We have a general theme. So like the first time, it was about mystery with an emphasis on Halloween. So you could read any book, fiction or nonfiction, with that general idea in mind. And so each person talked about their book as opposed to everybody reading the same book. So not only did we get to hear about maybe some books we'd like to read in addition to what we already had, we got a list, and quite often an expanded list since numerous people read up to 5 or 6 books on the theme. So we've had the Halloween, the next one was food, and in July it will be travel. So we also participated in the Trunk or Treat, and we gave out bookmarks and then coloring pages with crayons for the kids to take home, and it was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it. So we put out flyers about the book club to get people interested. We even dressed up. I was amazed at how many of the adults at that event were dressed in costume. Nice costumes. And this is our board. So I thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
No, keep up the good work. Very good report.
Thank you.
Yes, very in depth. Okay, discuss Sand Island fact finding. Brad Hendrickson
Brett and Andrew.
and Andrew Navy.
I don't think so. So I'm Andrew Nemi with Lower Columbia Engineering.
Brad Hendrickson with St. Helens Marina.
So this is just a continued discussion. I believe we've talked with, okay.
Yeah, just move it over.
Yep,
Move
sorry
it
about
over.
that. Talked with many of you and the Parks Commission specifically about the idea of developing some additional camping, potentially through a lease with the city on Sand Island.
I don't think you've talked to this body before. At least I haven't.
Yeah, not specifically to this body, but different members of the city, staff members, and we approached the Parks Commission about the idea since Sand Island is a city park. And so Mr. Hendrickson and I have just been discussing different options and what a proposal may look like to lease that park for the purposes of a privately managed campground. And it, from our standpoint, is a good fit for the St. Helens Marina since they have the infrastructure in place to operate a shuttle and relieve the city of the maintenance burden, quite honestly, associated with operating the park under the current management plan. It's our understanding that the burden to the city is approximately $2,000 a month, and so our objective would be to relieve the city of that burden and provide what really could be an exciting recreation opportunity for the community and hopefully bring some more folks to the area. And so right now we don't have a formal proposal to present, but we have been in discussion with staff members about some of the particulars that would, of course, need to be part of an organized proposal. And so we thought it was worth getting council's input on some of these issues. We know we don't have a lot of time here today, but some of the specific challenges, quite honestly, really the big one is how to handle the parking situation. And so we thought it was worth getting some input specifically on that. The city doesn't really have, as part of their development code, a clear black and white requirement for how you would address the parking burden that may develop as part of a proposal like this. So what we've just preliminarily discussed with the staff planners is that we would propose improvements that would add one parking space for each new campsite. And then, of course, the discussion comes about, okay, where would you put that parking? We've looked at first, because it would be, quite honestly, the easiest and lowest cost option would be to improve some of the public areas down in the vicinity of the St. Helens Marina. One in particular is the right-of-way area, which is really part of the Columbia Boulevard right-of-way between Dillard, Moorage, and the newest RV park that the St. Helens Marina constructed. Based on our preliminary design work, there's room there for pretty easily about 8 spots, and then potentially improving an area within the Gray Cliffs Waterfront Park, which is at the end of River Street there where the cul-de-sac's at. And currently there's like a gravel parking lot there, but one of the concepts we've discussed would be to actually improve a public parking area there and add some other amenities as well, picnic areas. I know that the city has, I believe, plans to put in a new restroom down there, so any effort, of course, would have to be coordinated with that. But, Jacob has naturally brought up some good points and questions as to whether or not it's appropriate. If the campground itself is really a privately managed facility, is it appropriate to use public parking to serve that need? And these are, I think, legitimate questions to be discussed before we would come up with a formal proposal. In my opinion, it's appropriate because those improvements would be paid for really through some of the proceeds of this campground, but they're really of public benefit. It is still public parking. Anybody can use that parking. If the campground goes away, that parking is still there. Those improvements are still there to benefit the community. And, just preliminarily, our thinking is that there would be conditions that would be a part of this proposal that, okay, if a parking problem does develop as a result of these efforts, that it would be a requirement that be managed, and we have contingency plans to areas that we could add additional parking that could either be on private or public property. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much time here. Brad might have some additional thoughts. I think it'd be really valuable to get the input of not only council members, but with Chief Moss here, of course, there's a potential, it's a city park out there currently, and how that would be managed from a law enforcement standpoint, of course, I think is relevant and would need to be discussed. Of course, it's already a city park, and so there's some level of burden there, I imagine, from the city's perspective. But, of course, those are all particulars that would, I think, need to be worked out as part of this proposal. Brad and I have preliminarily thought that adopting the state campground safety rules and procedures would make some sense, as far as quiet hours, rules on swimming, that sort of thing. But anyway, so I'll let Brad give any additional thoughts, and then I think getting input from you would be of value.
Yeah, the additional benefit for us, or for a private campground out there, is you'd have a camp host out there that could then manage what's happening on the island. You have a vagrant living on your island right now, whether you know that or not. That's just one of many.
On the backside, fishing illegally. I seen him.
Yeah.
Yep.
It happens all the time. I mean, we just had something ripped off at the marina. We had the feeling it's sitting over there on the island, but it just, these kind of problems can help, or can be managed a little bit easier when you have a body or a presence sitting over there. So I really don't see any negatives to this whole proposal. The extra parking down by the river is needed at any point in time, especially with your development down south. I mean, you're going to be drawing more and more people down to the river. So, worst case scenario, if this campground thing doesn't work or goes away or whatever, like Andrew was saying, you're going to have some additional paved parking lots that look very nice, and some covered picnic areas, I think was another idea for the parking area. Right now, Grey Cliffs has 2 picnic tables sitting out there. So we can do a little bit nicer than that. So those are the ideas right now, guys.
Okay. On Sand Island itself, can you give me a little bit more detail about what your idea is there? How many campsites you're talking about? What would be additional to the campsites?
Yeah, I think
you're
the
putting in?
city is showing 37 campsites right now that are just sprinkled here and there, and they're really not designated that well at all. So we're looking at a total of 50 over there that would be, that we would flatten areas for tents, have your fire pits, have your picnic table. At each one of these campsites, there would be a day use area also. I don't necessarily know that you have to designate it, but it's a city park. So, but the shuttle that we're proposing would also give access to our city park to our entire city now, instead of just the people that have a boat.
Would there be you said there was tent camping? Would it be limited to tent camping? Would there be buildings?
There's potential for buildings. I was just down at Fort Stevens here a couple of weekends ago, and their whole cabins, and it was in April, and they were full. It's just amazing how many people were out there. And
so what kind of buildings do you think?
Still in the design, it just depends on how much you're going to spend. So if we're talking about a piece
Are you
of
talking
land,
about a lodge, or are you talking about cabins?
No, cabins, yeah, just cabins. I mean, you
Although a lodge would be pretty cool.
Yeah. So we'd have to get a lot of receipts on this campground if we're going to talk about a lodge.
We could put a windmill out there for power.
Right. I like it.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little old salmon fish wheel.
Yeah, I don't think.
Well, that's another thing. What about water and electricity?
Yeah, there's you've got solar, you got generators, you can actually get power over there if you absolutely have to. It's just, again, it just depends on how big you're going to build that, and you're going to build it in phases. We're not talking about buying this island, so this is a leased proposition, so you can't, Andrew and I aren't going to go out on the limb and spend a whole lot of money if there's a chance this thing's going to get taken away from us, that kind of a thing. So that's where the conversations have to happen. And
do you have some idea what term of lease you'd be looking at?
I
for?
think to start with, you got to be. I mean, there's got to be at least a 10-year time frame. You know, to manage your costs and to and then you open that up for negotiation. Maybe after 5 years or something, just see what how both parties are feeling. I mean, we're not too far away, so I think we're going to know how each other's doing and stuff like that. But it's it should. I envision it being an ongoing concern. I really do think it'll work, and I'd love to say a 30-year lease, but that may be getting ahead of ourselves. So I don't want to commit to 30 years worth of cleaning up that island unless it's going to be feasible.
Yeah, and what we've initially preliminarily discussed here is that it would be nothing grandiose initially. You would ease into this with, we're talking about preliminarily like 50 of these campsites like Brad described that would simply be tent sites with a picnic table, fire ring, no power, no real other services. But then if things went well, a phase 2 perhaps could involve maybe some select sites, or yurts are popular at campgrounds, something of that nature that did maybe offer some basic utilities, maybe solar power, for instance, or maybe through a battery exchange with some of the sites, we could offer low voltage power for charging devices, low voltage lighting, that sort of thing. But I think the theme would be initially, it would be pretty simple. Brad and I, what we've discussed, we're not looking to, to dive into anything that's too crazy or over the top here. It would be, kind of ease our way in and make sure that it's something that works out well for us, the city and the community.
You're talking about transporting people over there. How would that work?
Well, the city owns a shuttle. We used it, whatever it was, 4 or 5 years ago for one summer. So that would be the vehicle that we would propose using under this lease. So
is that in? Is it working?
We may have to put a new motor on it.
Yeah, that's my understanding. The motor's
look
pretty
at
well
it.
shot, but the rest of it, I don't think it's in bad shape.
Yeah. So that's all you're
be glad
you're
to
only
get rid of
talking
it.
about 6 people at a time. It's
Okay.
that's an easier Coast Guard license to get. If you're going to have a shuttle.
So there's a lot of things to work out. I mean,
Absolutely.
we should probably have a little bit of public outreach on this, quite a bit actually. So for boaters like myself who want to go day use, it'll still be free.
Absolutely.
For the fishermen that camp over there, particularly on the backside, which is not camping sites, how will that work out? Because that's an annual tradition.
Yep.
And a long-standing tradition for a lot of families.
Yep.
So.
And Andrews pointed out that below high water mark. I mean, anybody can camp anywhere. I mean, that's just a state law. So they're fine as long as they're not in one of the designated camp areas or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and specifically, we've been exchanging some more, well, I'll say a little bit more accurate maps with the planning department, and probably have discovered that the city doesn't actually own as much as I at least originally thought that they did.
About half the island.
Yeah, it kind of originally looked to me like it was most of the vegetated area, but in fact on the east side of the island, the boundary between the city's property and the Department of State lands is actually inset into the vegetation
That's how
quite
the
a bit.
Army Corps is able to do what they do on that island, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And so what we would propose would just be, it would basically be leasing the city portion of the island. But I think along with that, you do get some control over the whole island from a monitoring standpoint. And like Brad mentioned, having a host out there all the time that was helping kind of keep an eye on things and report back if there were problems, I think would be of value to the entire island, even though this proposal would really specifically just be addressing the part that the city owns.
So I assume this would be seasonal? Are you going to have a campground host there all year
I would
round?
think so. No, I see it just as seasonal. Yep.
Rick, can I have 2 seconds?
Sure.
I just wanted to point out, there's all this excellent conversation about a park host and transient boaters and all that. I just want to maybe light a fire under this idea because I'm just reading now that the state is proposing a, what they're calling, I'll get back to it, a ban on camping on a stretch of the Willamette River in downtown Portland. They had a homeless boater's boat catch on fire the other day and burned up, and they've got a huge problem in downtown right now. What I'm getting at, and I think it's pretty clear, if that happens and Portland pushes their transient boating community out, they're looking for a place to tie up. And we've already got a problem, as you've already pointed out, going on right now. And I just wanted to throw my 2 cents. It's a great idea to.
I appreciate that, because what we're addressing with these two coming forward is a security problem as much as it is a recreational use problem, or problem that we're having of getting boaters over there and the right people over there. So I think what I'm really interested in is the security that you're providing, because that's where some of the materials off of my boat ended up over there, without a doubt. And it gets costly after a while. You know, people breaking into your boat, taking
Somebody broke
things.
into yours, Doug?
Of course. I mean, I don't know too many people who haven't lost something that's over there. So I kept mine unlocked, and there is a padlock to the little cabin, but the rest of the boat is there, and all the boaters respect each other.
Yeah.
But when transients come in and they're there in the middle of the night, and you're going to miss stuff, and that's true out of the parking lot as well.
Yeah.
So I see this as a security, as an issue of helping security, as well as it is promoting recreational activities in our parks.
Yep.
We do have also this system somewhat in place by the groundskeeper in McCormick Park, who locks up the restrooms and sees after that park. And without him, we would have to hire a security group to do those kinds of things. And in trade for that, he is staying in the double wide house that's over there by the park, and it's worked out beautifully. It doesn't cost the city really a whole lot to have him there, where he's not salaried, and so to me it's a win-win for the parks, the city, and we're getting a lot from that. And I like this idea thus far of having a host over on the island to overlook and see what's going on over there. It's going to cost. It costs us a lot of money to send people over there to do the maintenance and to maintain security, which we haven't been able to keep up with.
So Councilor Morton has been reporting a little bit to us on this idea, and I'm the type of person when I think it's a good idea personally, but I ran it by people in the community, and a lot of people are in favor. They're curious of what dollar amounts would be. So I would encourage you guys to get something together in that form. You know, what does it cost to have a ride over for a day use? Because the ride costs something.
Sure.
You know, what does it cost for overnight camping for 2-3 nights? Is there a break on a 3-day weekend? You know, that type of stuff. I would encourage you to put some of that together. I think we probably have to do a little bit of a process too, and make sure that there's nobody else out there, because it is a public island, publicly owned. We'd have to have put out an RFQ or something like that, probably on this process too.
Well, along with people getting breaks, I think our city folks need a break on that. But we can look at that
Sure.
in a bit, and public forums will tell us that. And
Well, the positive, Doug, is we can get the city people over there.
Yes.
I mean, that's the positive. You've got you got your biggest park in the whole city, and I don't know what the population is of St. Helens that owns a boat, but I don't think it's half.
one of the things that I'm getting pushback on when I go out into the boating community and into our community, largely, is that, oh, you guys tried that some years ago, and didn't you have a bunch of fights over there with this and that and whatever? And I said, yeah, but you know, nobody oversaw it. We didn't have the capabilities or to pay someone to oversee it. It was simply a transit boat that would take people over, and deliver them there, and then the next day pick them up, and who knows what happened in between time. Having a host there sounds like it would remarkably have a huge benefit to that problem.
And you just don't take a boatload of 13-year-olds over to that island unsupervised. You know, I mean, Andrew and I have started talking about that a little bit. Maybe they have to be at least 16 to go over there unsupervised, or anybody younger has to have an adult with them. I mean, there's certainly rules you can make so that you aren't defeating the purpose of having a very nice campground over there. And again, you know, every national campground you go to, or state campgrounds anyway, there's quiet. I mean, after 10 o'clock, that's it. There's no music out there anymore. But you have to have somebody to enforce that. You know, so then you have a campground. You just don't have a willy-nilly whatever goes on kind of thing.
So I think some of those, I was over there just a couple days ago, actually, Lisa, and I found a morel mushroom. They're really, really good. But I noticed a lot of the campgrounds are overgrown. Has it been a while since we've been over there? I mean, there's blackberries and trails that are kind of leggy and stuff like that. So there's a lot of work over there. There's definitely a lot of work over there. I know because I'm a landscaper. But I was just over there 2 days ago, and it looks, we need to address that a little bit as a city.
Yeah, I'll have to say, though, Brad and I toured it as well, and I was encouraged by how much nice native vegetation there is. There's a Oregon
lot.
grape in particular.
It's actually overtaken some of the less native areas that used to be.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of vegetation to work with for protection from the elements, that sort of thing. It just needs to be maintained. And
blackberries are not, they're a weed.
Right, yep, those need to be taken care of. But
there's a lot of horsecow.
I can't think of another area with as much tall Oregon grape, which is a great native that's not around much anymore. But that island's covered.
In that middle section, it's just covered. Yep.
Well, I agree with you in your assessment of parking. And parking's going to present some problems that can be resolved collaboratively. What the city can do and what you folks can do. And I think if we have confidence that we can move forward that way with our planning and public works staff, I feel very positive about continuing on with the council in this endeavor.
Concerns, Jacob and Jenny?
Yeah, so Andrew's been good about reaching out so we can kind of talk about some of this stuff preliminarily. What the development code says for parks, for recreation, is as needed. There's no actual calculation. So it's a matter of, what's the number, where do we put them? And then the big thing is how they're managed. And this is one of the things that I was communicating with Andrew. If we have these spaces on public lands or in our rights of way of street parking, normally that would be a city thing to manage. And generally our method of management, we don't have a parking enforcement person. We don't have reserved spaces. We don't have a very advanced parking program. And I don't know if we want to start that. That would be, a whole other thing. So right now it's just based on, is there a restriction? And then our code enforcement officer occasionally goes by. With the camping, especially if it's a multi-day occurrence, the management question really comes into play. How long is it okay for someone to be parked there? Is it reserved parking for the camping during the season or not? If other people start to abuse it and just leave their stuff there. And so one of my concerns becomes the actual management of the parking. And would the city be the entity to manage that, or would the people managing the campground be the entity? It seems to me, and this is kind of what I was getting at, is that maybe it's city property, maybe there's certain street spaces, but there's some agreement that that's managed by the camping entity because they would be in tune with their demand and, may have some permitting process or something like that.
I have a question on that. We've just recently vacated on First Street 15 feet, I believe, on one side that could be possibly parking. But we vacated that, so that is no longer public property, is it? It is private property that could be managed by the owner, who I'm looking at right now. And so that what you just said would not be pertinent to that strip that I'm thinking about off of First Street.
Yeah, given the right design, it could be private parking accessed by the right-of-way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you know that's one of the potential places you could have parking. There's Gray Cliffs, there's the area of right of way between the Dillard and the St. Helens Marina, and then the stretch of First Street. Those are the three general areas that are
I just brought that
candidates.
up because you said a public entity, a public piece of property, and that is no longer a public piece of property. It's accessed by public property, and it belongs now to private property. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Would this impact the kayaking beach that we've been talking about?
Well, I think that's where we would get into, you know, what is the design for the improved parking for Gray Cliffs, and you know, we wouldn't want to make sure they're going to coexist. Jenny and I actually talked about that a little bit this morning, and Andrew and I have discussed it at the 10,000 foot level that there's stuff, but we haven't really gotten to the details yet.
You know, and as far I understand there's always parking issue, but that park is really used a lot by the public, just for ice cream, lunch. You sit down there and you watch and you'll see people pull in, watch the river. So I don't know that I'm comfortable in
Gray
that.
Cliffs,
Yeah,
right?
I don't know if I'm comfortable with that, you know, as far as what they're proposing on that particular chunk of property. The other chunk I understand is probably the easiest, and the Columbia Boulevard. And it would really just tie everything probably together down there.
And just
that go ahead, Neil.
on that, I just wanted to, I think they're probably aware of it, but we do have kind of a gentleman's agreement with the police down there to reserve 2 spaces.
Yes.
For them. So that'd want to be addressed when you guys go through this process, when you're saying there's 8 spaces, there may only be 6 if we keep 2 for them or whatever, but just something to think about.
One of the issues that have recently happened, I should say recently in the last 6 years, whatever, was the purchase of more waterfront on Gray Cliffs Waterfront Park, expanding that park. Nothing has been done for improvements on that area. I don't know if I don't have the master plan in front of me, so I'm not certain if the master plan calls for a bit of an expansion and improvement there, but that certainly has possibility on the downriver side of Gray Cliffs Waterfront Park now, is that area can expand for people who really want to enjoy that area. And like I said, nothing's been done. It's just still kind of blackberry bushes and that kind of thing. So there's potential of that expanding to facilitate more people that utilize that park now. So it's an exciting area to look at, the whole thing. And I think now is the time. It's very timely. Now's the time for all the entities to come together, with the city looking at possibly that expansion, with the restrooms grant in the off-leash park area, the parking, this whole proposal of camping and getting the people over to Sand Island to be able to camp over there in one of the most beautiful, pristine campsites I could imagine on the Columbia. It's very exciting. So I just wanted to comment about that, how exciting this is for me personally, representing the parks, to have you here before us and possibly get some involvement moving forward, just not with you, but the whole big picture of what that area is going to be all about 20 years from now and 30 years from now. A vision kind of statement, I think, too. And Jen has been with our master plan was just a jewel for developing that master plan for the parks. And having her here to help with that endeavor, if we do move forward, and I hope we do, then I think now's the time.
And I see Councilor Khan's been over there writing. Do you have some things, or are you just
No, I'm
writing?
just taking notes on it.
Okay.
This is the very first time I've heard about
Yep,
it,
yep.
except secondhand that a proposal existed. So,
Yes.
thanks for listening to my questions.
So I think so. Here's what I'm thinking is that we need to put out something that we're thinking about doing this public announcement. I think that you guys should probably have you guys should actually do the forum outreach.
Why don't we talk to John about what we need to do?
Yeah, I think there's a letter to there. Let's talk about
Yeah.
that later.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just would hate to see the window missed.
I know.
The opportunity. This is what I'm trying to think of. Is camping is actually Memorial Day weekend is just right around the corner, which it probably wouldn't even happen then. But then we have the 4th of July. I know how government works. I'm just trying to speed up the process. So maybe we could call you after we talk a little bit, apparently, and get this on the fast track, because the island's not taking care of itself and it needs some attention over there.
One other thing,
Doesn't have to tell me that.
Brad came up with a figure that he ran by me about how much it costs us, our public works and our parks, to go over and maintain that, which your proposal would be responsible for. What was that per year? I want you to say that again, because I was like,
Well, I think
wow.
I think it was actually Thad that came up with the number. He said it was about 38,000 is what you were spending down here at Sand Island and one other park, and he figured about 2/3 of that was Sand Island. So that's where the 24,000 a year came from, or the
That's
2,000 a month.
For what?
for
going over and
maintenance.
cutting the
Maintenance,
glass, and cutting the grass,
Cutting the
cleaning
grass.
restrooms. and
There's some
everything.
maintenance with they're composting toilets in the restroom facilities there that were built, and so there's some maintenance associated with keeping those restrooms.
Just if we're spending that much, I'd like to know what we're doing.
I think that number might be a little low. I don't know that I would bid it for 24.
Well, we also maintain the docks.
Well, we pick up garbage, we supply toilet
Yes.
paper,
I know, that's a low number.
yeah.
Yeah, and those composting toilets, I think every
So
so
the number
often there's a
was-
total exchange of the medium, getting into the details, but.
It's not just going over there and mowing every once in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of
Yes,
stuff.
garbage.
When you're talking about maintenance and public works, it's out of sight, out of mind, and people do not see what goes on
Cost.
behind the vision that that we're blessed with. There's a lot of work that takes place. Keith has volunteered all those years over there for cutting during the summer, chainsawing those trees that need to come down every year, cutting the firewood up, everything, and it all just mounts up after a while. So
Nobody was supposed to know I was cutting trees.
be prepared, Brad, which you already know, I'm sure.
The one comment I have, and I don't know, like say when this is going to happen or whatever, but I think the first year maybe there is, because everybody's been used to going over there and camping for free and whatnot, and we're going to have and I don't have an issue with charging them either, because there is a cost to it. But maybe to ease into this, there is one unimproved area that you guys stay out of the first year or whatever, that you want to camp free, there's
There you
a
go.
spot.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. And that's that's what we're talking about, a public access area, and then the private campground. So no, and this is why we're here. is
And
to
you're not
talk about these things.
You're probably not going to be able to do the whole island in the first year anyway.
Okay.
So yeah.
No, and we for sure don't want to encroach on the full public access that occurs on that,
Mm-hmm.
tidal area. I mean, that's a sacred thing as far as I'm concerned with Oregon's
Well-
public access laws and the way DSL controls those
Right.
lands below.
But
it.
there's a cost to that too for us. I mean, there's trash left over there and just
I don't know.
everything.
I'm
so.
sitting here thinking, and we do get watched a little bit on TV, and I'm thinking, whoever's watching this, if you've never walked around that island, you don't understand how you're away from everything, and it's just a different world over there.
There's a mile of beautiful beach over there.
And you do feel like
Yeah.
you're not,
No, it's a fantastic
Yep.
asset, and we're going to provide access to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the.
I think there's a lot of discussion around this, I guess is what I was getting at when I was saying do some outreach and talk to some people. I guess it won't hurt to at least do that and get a feel of what maybe you need to in order to put this thing together. I would definitely talk to a lot of people about this. You guys are both plugged into the community, so.
Keith brings up a good point about adapting, people adapting to something that's new and something that's more regulated. My advice is somewhere you need an off-leash area, because the people who go over there, first, they don't go over there with leashes. You know that.
Correct.
Yeah.
I've never seen one. I've never seen a leash on a dog over there. And people go over there and let their dogs run. And usually during 4th of July and the holidays, that's where you get the problems, where the dogs start to go from one camp to another and start that kind of thing. So doing that, supervising that is good, because we already have a park ordinance about dogs. And will there be an off-leash area that dogs can go chase a ball, bring it back to their owner, and that kind of thing? Will there be those kinds of... You work all those little particulars out. I think everyone will be happy.
Yeah, so if you guys could let us know what the recommended next steps would be, that'd be great.
We will. We'll
Take it from
definitely, we'll get it to Councilor Morton, and because he's Parks Commission, and he'll be contacted.
And we'll talk to John because he knows what the processes are.
Yeah,
that we
I
need to
think
do.
what I'm hearing from the council is the general support to explore this further, and the procurement process being one of that. What path we need to take with that, and the terms of a lease agreement, and
Sounds good.
typically, and with other leases, we've asked for a pro forma to make sure there's a good understanding that you're eyes wide open that you're going to be successful. So
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Chief
Right.
Brent, maybe a few $100,000 a year.
I think that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Yep. All right. Review police officer residential incentive program. Terry.
Sure, thank you. I think that the council is aware of where I've gone with this and what we've talked, I think, about in sort of loose terms over the last several months. But this project has been in the hands of our labor attorney for the last couple months, and has finally come back around. We've run it through the Police Officers Association, and I think we now have something that we can take a look at and talk about. So the premise of this idea is that our competitors in the law enforcement business are currently offering pretty attractive incentives to recruit and retain staff. Portland sort of started it several years ago, where they're offering $10,000 bonuses to lateral recruits or lateral officers, $5,000 for recruit officers. Hillsboro's doing something similar. Eugene, Springfield. It's becoming more widely known around the state that it's becoming common practice. And I have, as I've thought about the idea of simply handing money to somebody who might already live in Hillsboro or Oregon City, Gresham, they're going to take that money that the city affords them back to their community and spend it there. Put a new roof on their house in Beaverton, or buy a new car in Gresham, or whatever they do. It doesn't matter. The money's leaving our community. And I've thought about, what does this city do to attract, recruit, and retain long term? And I think that, and I've said this many times before, that our most successful employees live here. They've invested in the community, been here for the long haul. So I threw this out there and said, what do you think? And we kicked it around, and the idea is, and it's in your proposal in your packet, to front load escrow for an employee so that they could purchase a home in the St. Helens School District. And it sounds simple, but I recognize right away that there are a number of tax implications when the city affords somebody a benefit. You got to pay the taxes on it. Aiken has done a creative job of crafting this document that clarifies a lot of those issues. We have 3 vendors, 2 of them local, 1 of them in Lake Oswego. I'm talking about St. Helens Federal Credit Union, Wanna Credit Union, and a 3rd one in Lake Oswego who are interested in this idea and this concept, and they want to help launch it for us. So here we are. I'm here to answer any questions you might have about it. I think, I know for Nicole's benefit, she had questions of me yesterday, and I said, let's defer until today. And when Matt's in the room, and she can ask Matt the question, but the council might have questions about how are we going to pay for this? Now, what are we going to do? Just to be clear, what I'm talking about here is the money is front-loaded into escrow for the purchase of a home in the St. Helens School District, and a lien is put on the property for a period of 5 years post-closing on the property. So at the end of 5 years, the lien is forgiven. If the employee leaves for any reason in that 5 years, absent injury or illness, they're going to pay it back.
Yeah.
I open it to questions and maybe defer to Matt for some more clarity, but that's where I'm at.
You getting any pushback from officers or part of your staff that has been here for some time and is envious of new individuals coming in, getting this benefit where they did not reap that benefit?
Well, that's where this conversation started, with the idea that we could do I'll call it the Portland model, where we just give cash, where you have the choice of selecting the cash or the house idea. And the association didn't like the idea of cash. I like the idea that this way this is written is it applies to everybody. So if you've been here for a year or 2 and you're living in Gresham and you want to come out here, this could benefit them as well. They didn't like the idea of somebody new coming in. I don't agree with it. I find it a little bit short-sighted, but they didn't want somebody to get cash that they didn't have access to. But if they have access to a house and somebody else can apply for the same benefit, they were okay with that. So,
question for you. So like Costilla, I didn't say that right.
Casieja?
Yes. Agers, Hogue. If they went ahead and did this, so we got them for another 5 years?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's what I want to know.
No.
Yep.
Some of them have told me, quite frankly, not interested. John lives in Scappoose, and he's planning on being here. There's no plans to leave, but he doesn't want to move to St. Helens. Mm-hmm. My deal was I wanted to be in the St. Helens community, so defined that border as the St. Helens School District, so you could be Yankton, Deer Island, Warren, and still be
Church Road to Tide Creek, I do believe.
Probably, yeah.
Yep.
I think this is a great move. I agree with you that people who live in this community are more invested in this community.
I thought that this was, I was patting myself on the back for this genius idea, and I read in the paper a while back that we won't be the first. San Diego, a long ways from here, I get it, but San Diego, California is also doing a very similar program where they're bringing in new employees and then helping them to, it's like a housing assistance program or something like that.
San Diego?
Yeah.
Do they do that for counselors?
Yeah. The housing market in San Diego is a little bit different than St. Helens, Oregon, but
I think.
Anyway.
It's still a genius idea.
Well, we're not going to be the first to ever do it, but I think we'll be, if you agree to do it, the first in Oregon. I've never heard of it being done in Oregon. The typical model is just cash.
So the only one issue I had is I believe Warren is Scappoose School District. Is that correct?
No, Church Road.
Church Road.
Part of it's St. Helens and part of it's
not Warren?
Scappoose.
Church Road, this way is Warren. The other side of Church Road towards Scappoose, which would be Bennett, not Bennett, where the Warren School
What I'm getting at is maybe we change that line just a little bit on the south side. I mean,
well, I think it is actually. When Warren School is not St. Helens School District?
No, that's Scappoose.
Yeah,
it is. Okay, so it is Church Road. That's right.
So,
Well,
Might be Bennett.
I mean,
what I'm afraid of, Keith, is that we open the door to this discussion about where the line is, and somebody says, I want it this side of the street, and I want it that side of the street. So that's why I said, let's just make it St. Helens School District, already a defined boundary, and then we don't have to worry about that discussion.
Then they're part of our recreation
and
program.
well, maybe just a little language where if it's real close, it could come to the council or something like that.
I think there needs to be a line.
But I mean, if somebody's within a half a mile, I mean, or do we want to make it that picky? That's all I'm getting at.
I think that complicates it.
All that property you invested in there, Keith, is
Worthless.
All right. Thanks, Terry. Any other questions?
Matt, do you have anything you want to add? Or Matt says he's good. All right.
Nicole, what was your question? So the question was from the reporter, where would the money come from?
We're gonna make Scappoose pay for it.
The money, when it's approved and somebody applies and goes through the program, would come out of the general fund.
I would have to offer a compliment to Terry to stick to this. This has been something that we've been working on for quite a while, and it's seemingly complex or simplistic in concept, but the details have just been astonishing. How when you really did drill into it to make it work. So
It's only taken a year and a half or so.
About a year almost. Close. Okay. Any other questions for Terry? Thank you, Terry. Okay, review if I were mayor student contest entries. So do y'all have a chance to read them?
I did.
I did too.
No.
I hate to say this.
Yeah?
But I'm going to. There were quite a few of them that
To look
you
closer.
just had to think the parents helped them with.
Can I take a closer look? This isn't working for me.
You can take a closer look, yes.
That's what
Okay.
that's what they're
Yep.
good for. Just comment. Maybe they aren't. I hope not. But
Well,
just the content is.
well, I would, you know what? It seems like it, Keith, but kids, you have.
Oh, I
they
know
are
how
a
smart
lot
they are.
smarter
I
than
run
what-
the youth council. I know how smart they are.
Yes. I really like the one who started giving a bunch of facts as far as statistics. I think it was the E one.
I also know there's things in here that kids don't think about.
Yes.
Yes.
They
true.
can. That's right. They're
Right,
actually
they do.
they are actually encouraged to from the high school or the middle school or. So this one goes on to state, direct my attention to the growing homeless population. The United States Census Bureau reported in 2016 that the population of St. Helens is 13,526 people. The local community action team reported that in 2016, the homeless population was around 317 people. I mean, a lot of them did their homework on, and I know Neil took off, but I noticed a lot of them did report potholes and potholes, potholes in the streets, and then the sidewalks. And the sidewalks we know we have an issue with, but you're right, we don't have a lot of potholes. It's mostly county roads that have those. Gable is a county road. Yep. So, I don't know that we need to discuss, or we're just gonna hand these in, right? So Susan will have all the time she needs between now and tonight, because I think
I do need to know before 5 because I need to call them and make
Oh,
sure they're
okay.
coming tonight, and I need to print out certificates.
well, I have mine already.
Oh,
Yep.
perfect. I'll take the ones that are done.
Okay.
Oops.
Okay, so.
Which one you like?
All right, so I just like I love this time of this time of year just because I like to see what kids are thinking. And one kid was ready to go after the stray cats because they were eating all the songbirds. And the songbirds aren't around like they used to be. You can give that to Lisa.
Here you go.
Okay, we're gonna move on, and you guys will have time to have them in by 5 to Lisa. Okay, so we're gonna start with department reports. Terry.
The conversation of a few minutes ago with Andrew and the idea about the island just reminded me that I wanted to share with you that last summer, late August, I think, we had enough complaints from the boating community about the docks and so forth that we adjusted Code Enforcement Officer Adam Hartless's schedule so that he'd be working Saturdays. It was so productive, and the comments you heard last year were so positive that we agreed that this year we were going to do that at the beginning of the boating season. So we're already starting to get complaints, but the plan is Memorial Day weekend will be his first weekend that he'll start working his shift on the weekends, with the idea that we'll try to stay in front of this potential for problems. So anyway, that's it.
Yep. Terry, I didn't know you were retiring.
Yeah. You want to talk about it now? I think other than Keith and my wife,
you kept it tight.
Really tight.
Yeah.
For the last, I don't know, couple years, I've been thinking about the now what? You know, what's next for for me, and I think most people know who I am and what I do. I really enjoy being in the classroom and being in the learning environment, and this opportunity came up. I thought that'd be a cool job post-retirement. I'm eligible. It just seemed like this was it. So pulled the plug. I mean, it's Keith and I have been talking about this for some time now, about the what ifs and when is it going to happen. And anyway, here we are. So I'm here for a little while. I'm not done yet, but.
Well, we're not done with you yet either. I think
we got work to do.
The only comment I have is his new employer did not call me for a recommendation. and I wasn't going to give him a recommendation. Not my fault.
I am very, very sad for us and for our community, but at the same time, I'm excited for you. I think this is a really good opportunity for you.
Well, I appreciate that. I've heard a lot of that sentiment the last couple of days.
But I'm still crying.
This, 27 years is what it'll end up being.
Almost 28.
It's actually 27.
Oh, really? You messed up on your email then.
My email said 28. It's actually going to be 27. It's been a great ride. It really has. This city has been terrific to me. I mean, I can take, all the bumps and bruises and bad days and push them aside and just talk about the good stuff that we've been able to do here together. And
yep. You raised your kids here. I mean, you just
the whole, not just the police department and the city, but the whole community. Yep. As you just said, my kids went to school here and grew up here, and now they're grown and gone. And it's just been a great place for me and my family. And anyway, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
it really has.
Yep.
Well, I mirror Susan's thoughts, and one of the things that I felt very privileged sitting on a council with your leadership as chief and being a patrolman when I first got here, and a lieutenant, I believe. And one of the most that was wonderful experience for me. And the best part was, I think, that we shared the Rotary activities together, and that's where I got to really know you and know who you were. And you went on in Rotary, and your leadership activities in there were very much noticed in the community. And you just said something that really struck a note with me, and that's that you've always had a flavor for teaching and a good feelings about teaching. And I've started looking at myself and I go, my gosh, I spent 31 years in the classroom, and now I'm still teaching. And I couldn't let loose of it because it is such a wonderful endeavor. It's infinite of what you can do to teach. And you're on the right path, I'm sure, for your personality and who you are. Your students are going to benefit a tremendous amount. And so will you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you definitely been a mentor in our community too, Terry. This is hard work, but the service work that you do. I mean, the guy was racing out there at the Speedway. I mean, come on, the chief of police out there racing. He wasn't at the time, but he was out there.
Who's going to work on projects
crowd.
with me
now? There's a rough crowd out there.
We move on now.
You're right in the middle of it, right?
All right. Thank you, Terry.
He's not going to go there.
Sue?
I can't make any comments about him leading because, as you all know, I'll just turn into a giant waterworks. But, so I'll save that for some later date. A couple of things you probably noticed. There's all kinds of construction going on all over the place, so it's crazy traffic and crazy signs and everything all over the place. So please, everybody, just try to be patient through the construction zones. I know it's frustrating sometimes while you're waiting for those types of things going on, but it's work that's got to get done. So we just want everybody to be safe, and we don't ever want to see anybody get hurt in one of those areas. So take patience and be safe through those. Also, on behalf of the Wellness Committee, I am here to ask. We want to. I'm a member of the committee for the city, and we want to kind of start this program to promote overall wellness within all the city employees. And we want to do that by having like a little kickoff meeting, a short meeting, about a half an hour, similar to what we do with the safety meetings, where it's quasi-manual to go to these meetings. We would like to get permission from the council to close City Hall until 9 o'clock on May 10th, instead of opening at 8:30 to open at 9 that morning, to allow all of the employees from City Hall to attend a kickoff meeting. We'll be asking Neil to send his crews down for that kickoff meeting so that we can introduce the program. We can just say a little bit about what types of things we're going to be implementing over the next several months for all the employees. If any police officers, library, anybody, all of our city employees will be inviting. But we don't want to put that date in stone and send out any messages until we get some permission to be able to stay closed for an extra half hour on that morning to allow the majority of our employees to attend.
Well, I certainly think it'd be a benefit to not only our employees, but the city would be our citizens would be the recipients of what's happening with that program. I applaud it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Phil.
You'll be invited.
The only thing I would just like to thank Terry too for all he's done for this city. I'm one that got to watch him grow up from a patrolman to a chief, and he was always very professional, even as a patrolman, and he will be missed, and thanks for all you did for us while you were here.
Yep. Margaret.
I wanted to say thank you to the Arts and Cultural Commission members that are present, and to Nancy, who was here from the library board, and thank them for all the effort they put into those reports and the courage to get up in front of public meeting and share all that. So thank you. Nicely done. I'd like to add my thanks to Terry as well. I'd like to wish you all the best in your next endeavors. You will be very much missed. It's been a pleasure to work with you. This Saturday, the Columbia Arts Guild is hosting their 3rd annual Spring into Art. It will be at the Columbia Center from 10 until 4. And there's an assortment of activities going on throughout the day, and I encourage you to drop by. It'll be pretty busy and festive, so I'll be there, but I'll be behind the desk for a good part of that time, but I'm going to try to sneak out and take a look at what's happening. And the final item I wanted to mention is in the library board report, one of the things that Nancy mentioned was emergency egress. And I've talked at different times, I think, in different settings about the concern that we've had that there is not any egress from the library proper past the point of the front desk. So everything is forward. There is one side door that goes out of the library up by the near the dock. It goes onto the dock. But from the front desk back, there is nothing. And I have been working with Roger to come up with a couple of proposals to improve that. And one of the ideas is to change two of the windows in the children's room to safety glass so that you can just hit the glass and get out. There is no logical place to put a door. And part of those changes that Nancy was talking about, where we wanted to do some redesign in the children's room, one of the ideas that was presented to us by the former Head Start manager was converting two of the windows to window seats where kids could crawl up and sit on a cushioned seat with a book. And so we felt like if we incorporated that idea into these window exits, then there would be a logical step up to get to the windows, which are already fairly close to the floor, but that would further enhance getting small children out of the room if necessary. The other idea would be to put a door in the northwest corner of the building, and that would be where those the curved glass with the window seats are, just to the right of that as you're facing west and that end of the building. There are some windows there that could easily convert to a exit door with slight side windows on the side. And Roger and I have been working with a contractor that would supply the door and an electrician that would add the extra lighting that's necessary. There would also probably need to be a ramp and a railing. But what I'd like to do as soon as possible is to get the door on order and make sure it's in place before we start our painting in August. I will probably be able to fund part of this through the current budget and the remainder in next year's budget through the facility maintenance line item. But I just wanted to put that in front of you so that you could have a chance to ask questions and to not be surprised if you suddenly saw a door and a little sidewalk going out to the street, because there would need to be handicap access out to the street. The concern is obviously the usual sort of emergencies that you might encounter, but we also have had a heightened sense about active shooter situations, and we just want to be able to be prepared for any of the kinds of emergencies that might face a large group of people in a public building. So that's the motivation behind doing that. So
the door's going to happen and potentially windows as well?
yeah, the windows are relatively inexpensive.
Nope.
But I just wanted to get the door on order so we can have it installed before that painting happens in August.
Do you have a plan? Do you have a plan that we could look at, or is this just all conceptual at this point?
It's pretty conceptual. There isn't the sidewalk drawn out, but Heidi in the building department said that Roger would need to submit plans and get a building permit.
Okay.
So we'll be proceeding through the normal channels.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, Matt. Kathy?
Well, I just wanted everybody to know that I've denied Terry's retirement.
Thank you.
Not accepting it. But I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to work with him throughout the last 17 years, and just an upstanding guy that I'm just thankful that I got to work with him. I got a email from Crystal, and we're looking at doing some advertising for Citizens Day in the park, and we want to know, we need to get more information about that so that we can start putting things together. So a start time and an end time, and then some other information.
Okay.
So
I need to get around this one, the businesses, and make sure they're still on board.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I had.
All right. John?
Yeah, there's so much to talk about. Chief Moss, I was the residential incentive program. Are interested in that? No, I see if we can keep you for 5 years. No, over the last week, I was at both the Governor's Tourism Conference and the Oregon Brownfields Conference, and it's encouraging and a little terrifying sometimes about how much attention we've drawn to the St. Helens community. There's just the general sentiment is that St. Helens is on the verge. We've done so much planning work. We're bringing all of these fronts forward to ripen our waterfront development, and it's setting us up for a really positive outcome. And to that end, there's the public perspective is they believe in us. The private have private interests of big hotels and residential developments, and you look at what's the activity in the queue through planning right now with all the residential subdivisions coming online. There's really a lot of growth coming, and I think it's pretty inevitable. And with growth comes growing pains and a lot of controversy sometimes, and those are hard times, and have to kind of hold through this and keep together. So it's an important time to be in St. Helens. Related to that, last Friday we submitted a letter of intent to the Regional Trails Program, which is the program that is funding the grant for the non-motorized boat launch down in Grey Cliffs Park and the restrooms there, for a project. It actually looks like it might be a joint project with the Port of St. Helens as a Milton Creek Trail, a trail that would connect McCormick Park downwards to the waterfront and across. And the port's expressing some interest in having at least one side of the trail or the other, if not a looping trail, both, in accessing some of their lands back in there, which is we have till middle of June to polish that up. But yeah, that just kind of adds to another thing we're working on. So I think that's it.
All right. Okay, Councillor Locke.
So I guess about main thing I have to report on is Terry's retirement and the years he's put in here, and not that I had a lot to do with Terry when he first came into town, although I've been here the whole time. I believe he probably did teach my daughter the DARE program years and years and years ago. But it's been my fourth chief since I've been here sitting in this seat, and I think I appreciate Terry more than any of the other chiefs, that's for sure. So I'm definitely going to miss him, that's for sure. And saying that, I would like permission for us to have Kathy start the process of advertising for a replacement. The nice thing Terry's done is he's given us 3 months to bring somebody new on board. So which is probably going to take the whole 3 months to do that, if not longer. So if we could start the process and get hiring process started, that okay with everybody?
No problem here.
And that would be internally and externally both. So yeah. So that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Maybe we should plan his party too as well. Because we don't know when he's going to actually just say administrative leave and be gone.
Has to be
never
before the middle of July.
You
probably,
can't trust him.
you
You
know.
can't trust him.
He does have some vacation time, so
yes,
around the probably the second week of July would be a good time.
Well, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people attending that. So, okay. All right,
Might need to rent a hall.
Councillor Khan.
I would like to echo Margaret's thanks to the Arts and Cultural Commission and Library for their most excellent reports. Thank you. I know it's intimidating to do, and I appreciate you having come in and done such a wonderful job. Also, we just finished our 8th CIT training, and I want to thank you guys for the support that you've given and tell you that it went well.
Council President Morton?
Yeah, anyone who has been sitting in my seat and heard the 2 presentations from Arts and Culture and the Commission and the Library Committee, wow. Feel that our community is very progressive, very insightful, visionaries, and without a doubt, good follow-up and great presentation skills. I can't tell you how good that was today, and I just want to I want to thank you. But I did listen, and one of the things that you asked from the council was an opportunities for training. There's nothing better than to get your 1 or 2 of your staff on your, I should say volunteer members, to be able to get some training that way. Now, I just asked Matt how much we had in our discretionary fund for the council. I'm not certain how much we have left, but our year is rounding up and whatever. I couldn't think of anything better than what we counselors do, is that we attend the League of Oregon Cities convention, and in there's a multitude of workshops for attendees to attend, not only in terms of ethics, but in terms of where communities are going forward. I mean, it's very impressive. I don't know where it is this year. Is it in, anyone know? John, do you know by chance where LOC is this fall?
I think it's Salem, but I'm not positive on that.
Well, if there's opportunities, if there's a reasonable amount of money in the discretionary funds, I'd like to see if we could open that up to our commission and committee members or board members as well. So I think that that would be an extension from the council to our committees and commissions that we do oversee. And I couldn't think of anything better than doing an educational pursuit in that direction. So if there are monies, and I'm not certain, do you have an idea of where we're at with that, Matt?
Yeah, your budget for that line item is $15,000 this year. You have spent $7,800, so you have about $7,100 or so left.
And and out of that, then will the I guess if I'm kind of saying that I think that those monies should be geared towards education and towards those kinds of endeavors for the council. I've always thought that was the most productive way to spend those monies. Not that a discretionary fund should be totally allocated for that, but that should be a good lion's share. Education and knowing and knowledge of what we're doing here in our community is of the utmost, I think, of importance. So those funds will probably come from the fall for the League of Oregon Cities. I'm really not certain. So our upcoming funds for League of Oregon Cities. So we still have some funds that I would like to see allocated to our boards and commissions so that they could get some training and so that they could get some insights, because I think that would be quite important. Now, some of the larger cities in the League of Oregon Cities, Salem being one for sure, Portland being another for sure, sends not only their council members, but those committee members and staff members as well attend that convention. And I can't think of anything more appropriate to get supercharged up and understand what's happening in networking across the state and what's happening in whoever's endeavors, whether it's a library, whether it's the parks, no matter what it is. I could see sending at least maybe one member from each one of those committees and boards. So that's something just to chew on and just to kind of think about for the council. And I'd like to see, I'd like to see more kind of direction that way, to where we facilitate what we just heard today, that we would really like some more training and some kinds of.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Would that mean you'd be willing to pay for the grant writing workshop for them that they'd all like to go to? I think it's $50 a piece, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. And that was I was going to suggest is that we look at in-house
better.
training at a meeting, because they're all together then, and then also one of the things the CAP board does is there's a lot of that training online now, and they're just short presentations, and we try and have one at each of our meetings so that we each get little reminders and refreshers on different things and whatnot. So there's lots of opportunity out there. But yeah, I would suggest that we support whatever.
Let's keep this discussion alive, okay, so that we can maybe act on it as an action item here pretty quick.
When
All
is
right?
the grant writing workshop?
Well, we have it in our funds, so I think we just give a head nod to Matt, and there's what, 7 of you?
There's 7 of us. I'm not sure that all can go or are able to go.
We'll get a number to.
What's the tuition?
50. 50.
50 per person.
Oh, I'll motion that right now.
That's a no-brainer. Just do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So,
So
Too late.
Yeah. John?
I was going to note that the conference is in Eugene, September 27th through the
Okay.
29th at the Eugene Hilton.
I was looking at their website too. Did you see who the keynote speaker is?
Jason Roberts.
Jason Roberts. He's an arts activist.
No way. Arts activist. There you go.
Activist is our keynote speaker.
I would also share that it's not just big cities that send their entire council. There's a number of
Yeah.
entire contingents of city leadership that come to these kinds of things.
I don't know. A lot of times they take us mayors and they put us all together. We don't get to see the rest of these guys.
It's Rick.
Listen to each other and you can't stand it, right?
It's because you're special, Rick. They're special classes.
I think that League of Oregon Cities will actually be really. Eugene's got a lot going on with Tracktown coming up too. I bet there'll be a lot of active discussion at that League of Oregon Cities. So I look forward to that.
Hopefully there's a home game that weekend.
Yeah, that would be great. Double dip. So I forgot department reports. Tina, do you have anything to report? Okay, you want to come on up?
Tina Curry for city events, and I'm going to have our community liaison speak first, and then go over what's going on with tourism.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Also, I'd like to just put in as the wife of a recently retired man that Bonnie has my sympathies. Dawn is now organizing the cans in the cupboard. Anyway, I wanted to come today and give a report in response to Destiny Rider's comments in the last meeting. So, since coming on board last summer as community liaison, I've attended planning meetings, assisted with merchant outreach, and responded to concerned citizens via email and on various local social media pages. I've also attended Shedco board meetings in an effort to reopen lines of communication between the city and the Shedco board. I began attending meetings in August of 2017 and continued attending them regularly through March of this year. Mayor Schultz, Councillor Locke, and I have attended meetings since last fall. During last month's City Council meeting, Shedco board member Destiny Rider spoke and made statements which I knew to be in error. When Mayor Schultz advised Ms. Rider that the city had learned about Kimberly J. Brown's appearance at Aggie's house from a Facebook post rather than a direct communication from Shedco, Ms. Rider took issue with this, insisting that the mayor had been included on all emails. This is not correct. On August 25th, I received an email from Amanda Normine discussing the bags that Shedco would be handling during October. In that email, there is a glancing mention of a welcome party for Marnie. I hadn't seen anything on the official schedule, but I thought she was referring to a city meet and greet. No one from the city was CC'd or included on that email, and while I have many previous emails with Ms. Normine discussing bags, maps, the bite, and wayfinding witches, I was never included on any emails discussing plans for Kimberly Brown appearing at a non-city tourism event. This is highly irregular, considering that Ms. Normine discussed all other aspects of Shedco's plans for Halloween 2017 with me. Ms. Rider also stated that she didn't know who in the city she was supposed to speak with regarding events in 2017, who her contact person was supposed to be. This is untrue. Councillor Khan, who was working as the council's liaison to Shedco, set 2 meetings with Ms. Rider and myself where it was decided I would be the contact person for the city and Ms. Rider would be the contact person for Shedco. And we talked to each other several times during the months of September and October. In my interactions with Shedco, I observed their allegations against city employees, and the council never slowed down in the months following Halloween, even though they'd been given a chance to voice their issues in the subsequent debriefing session. As a result of their concerns, both the mayor and Councillor Locke began attending meetings too. In every board meeting, Shedco members continued to denigrate Tina Curry, even though they had had no direct contact with her since late summer, fall of the previous year. Amanda Normine repeatedly called her a bitch during board sessions and in front of visitors. Both Al Peterson and I had to ask her to refrain from that language. I also pointed out to board members that the issues they continued to rehash were over, and that none of them had had contact with Ms. Curry for almost a year. Still, the board was unable to move on. Ms. Curry became the focus of everything wrong with the city until it grew to a point of absurdity. I asked several times in meetings why the city didn't want to, quote, play with Shedco. I have waited for anger to abate, hoping a more positive and constructive dialogue could be reached between Shedco and the city. However, after events occurring at and after the March meeting, I believe the issues run deeper than merely hurt feelings on Shedco's part. During the March meeting, I witnessed the board's same pattern of vilification of Ms. Curry continue. Councillor Locke asked why Shedco's focus had become events rather than staying within the confines of their mission statement. Ms. Normine stated that Shedco events were an effort to fundraise. She also stated that if the city wished them to stop doing events, they could pay them $20,000. I took this initial statement to be simply an irritated response to Mr. Locke's question. Then, less than 10 minutes later, Ms. Normine repeated, "Hey, give us $20,000 and we'll keep our hands off Halloween." Now, the statement became alarming to me, not only in its lack of professionalism, but for the implication that any funding request could or even should be negotiated in this way. After approximately another 4 minutes, Ms. Normine began to repeat this remark for a third time, again increasing its significance. This time, SHEDCO Chairman Al Peterson interjected and advised her that there was a better way for her to present her thoughts. Last year, SHEDCO complained that there was a distinct lack of communication from Ms. Curry and the city. When I began attending the meetings, they continued to complain that there was still no communications, despite clear emails from me containing the city's responses to their questions. By the end of the fall and through March, 3 of us, Councilor Locke, Mayor Schultz, and myself attended most, if not all, the meetings. We are still hearing the same complaints to date. At this point, the City of St. Helens has bent over backwards to accommodate SHEDCO's requests, and there's nothing further that can be done on that score. SHEDCO has to find their own way at this point and make their own determination how they wish to define themselves as an economic development group. In conclusion, in summary, I recommend the City of St. Helens no longer sends any liaisons to SHEDCO. If 3 people working to reestablish communications for more than 5 months can't open and maintain a meaningful dialogue without enduring belittling remarks, offensive language, and unprofessional behavior, then there are other people, there are other problems SHEDCO must address within their own organization. I would suggest they be given time to integrate their new board members and work on their business plan competition as well as their other business development goals. It doesn't make me happy to have to come and say these things because, as you all know, when I come, I usually like to do my happy dance and tell you how marvelous things are going. And on a whole, they are. This is terrific. This is a small piece, but it's a very, very important piece that we have to get a handle on. As rumors start, it's gotten to the point where, as we hear the rumors coming across Facebook, we can pretty much tell what section of the population they're coming from because of the code words used. Like if they're talking about the Fairy Festival, that we hear the word eyesore. We know what very small group, select group, but still they're an irritant, are talking about it. When they use communications or miscommunications, we know that's another one. Another one that I had thought of that I hear, well, why does she care about our community, referring to Tina? They're silly things, but at this point they add up, and it's like John said, we are moving forward at lightning speed. Everybody else is on the bus, and we do not have time to cajole people to get back on the bus with us. We're all going somewhere, and we want to all go together. In conclusion, I would like to very quickly read a very famous piece by Portia Nelson. It sums up self-actualization, so you don't need to take a 10-week course. It's called Autobiography in 5 chapters, and there is a point to me reading this. Chapter 1, I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm hopeless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find my way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. It isn't my fault. It still takes me a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk, and I walk around it. Chapter 5, I walk down another street. It's time to walk down another street. Thank you.
Comments? Tina?
So I want to just make one comment. I think Stephanie has been at every meeting that she could possibly attend. And the only comment that I really have is I believe, according to Stephanie, that Destiny, as the secretary, may have attended 2 meetings. So when she's making allegations towards the mayor or Keith, I'm not sure exactly where those are coming from when you've been to 2 meetings. That's all I want to say about that. In moving forward, I am going to see what you think about having July the 4th this year on Sand Island as a option, because I've had so many people saying, can we have it on Sand Island again? We can't see the view anymore.
You mean the fireworks?
The fireworks, yeah. So maybe having 1 year here, 1 year on Sand Island, 1 year here, one on Sand Island.
They'll all be going back to Sand Island.
I
Look
don't-
how properties developed.
It's-
all out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think
Costs
about
a lot
that?
more money. It costs a lot more money.
I like it on Sand Island.
It does cost a lot more money, so I will caution the council on that.
A lot more. How much?
Oh, probably another at least $5,000 at least.
No,
for
not
transfer.
that much.
Where did
No,
those expenses?
No?
It's not that
on-
much.
Don't have equipment.
We've always volunteered that. We have a group that will volunteer helping with that. If they,
It didn't happen 1 year. What happened to the volunteer group then? The funds.
I don't think it was about volunteers. It was
about
probably
money
about
for the
money.
fireworks.
How are
Right.
those expenses?
yeah,
We've always
Incurred.
transported them over there with our barge and
Yeah.
stuff, and it does run into a little overtime for some people, but not a huge amount.
I say yes.
So how are those expenses incurred? $5,000. That's
Well,
it's not.
here's what used to happen. I can just only speak from the volunteer point. Is we used to actually have Dillard's barge take over, go get the equipment from United Rental, knew a couple guys there, and would actually barge heavy equipment over there to dig the trenches, to put in the pipes, to do the chutes, and it started. This is easy. They build boxes. They put a little sand around it. It's all set up. No problem. That over there is a little bit more in depth. So I would guess that a professional at $75 to $100 an hour, when you had the amount of volunteers we had over there, it's got to be $5,000 or $6,000 more.
so from what my experience, the only thing extra was the professional
Yeah.
over there overseeing everybody. The rest was all volunteer work.
Yeah, that's my understanding too from the last
We
4
we
years.
still have the, what do you call them? All the pipes.
Is Western still doing our?
Yes.
Okay.
And we do have a contract with Western on that. So I would envision it more like a sliding scale of the size of the show. If you have a fixed amount of dollars to spend on the show, and
Right.
we have it here, we have it there, it's either more or less of a show. But going over there gets bigger fireworks.
It gets bigger shells in there.
And
You can shoot up to a 10.
The show that we had on the mainland had smaller fireworks, but more of them. They kind of
Right.
expanded it out.
And we can still do tailgating. I mean, we can still do everything that we were doing to get people close to the fireworks. And I'm just thinking it might be a nice touch to give the people that love the Sand Island an opportunity, and then we could at least go back and forth until the development starts.
I mean, if not next year, the year after.
It
gonna
won't,
be the
yeah.
Last year anyway, so, yeah.
How was Public Works involved, and is there any problems involving Public Works with 4th of July activities on Sand Island this upcoming year?
I don't think so, as long as we get a heads up when we got to be where and with what, when the boat's got to be there to haul them over with. The mayor's right about how it started out, but Dillard's barge broke a long time ago, and I think we did it the last 3 or 4
really?
years that they were on Sand Island.
Yep.
I will
And it's
call.
just a matter of paying some guys overtime to come out on the 4th, because obviously we're off on the 4th, so it does run into a little overtime.
I like that. All we need is a heads up.
And we usually ask for, we usually try to get a summer helper to go with one of the main park guys to do that, so it's a little cheaper that way with just paying summer wages.
Thanks, Neil.
I know it's just paperwork, but the permit's already been issued for down here. So
Oh, yeah, through ATF.
start
Oh.
over. Yeah, they got a complete count of all the shells and everything. I got it just the other day. So if we're going to change it,
We also have to
it's,
get
just,
a Coast
it's
Guard.
all paperwork, but I
Yeah.
just want to point out it's already been done for down here.
So we need
Does that include the Coast Guard too?
They notified everybody, the fire department, police department.
Isn't the Coast Guard more involved though on the island, or not?
Well, they had to be notified at least with this one because the chute covers part of the river. They'll have to be involved in the one across river just the same.
So,
Will that be close to any nesting birds by chance?
No.
Not as close as they would be on this side, actually.
There's ospreys and eagles there. I mean,
yeah,
that is an issue.
Yeah.
There are here too.
I will make calls and see if the volunteers base is still out there. But I'm pretty sure they are.
If not, Doug said he'd do it.
Illegal campers. Oh no.
Okay. Well, we'll work on that transition then, and we'll still offer tailgating and stuff like that for people that want to park down here and get in and out quick and the whole 9 yards. The ferry doors are growing, and Roy Thai just decorated their whole front of their restaurant with a ferry door, which looks fantastic. Take a look at it when you are driving around. The main complaint that we have had from Festival of the Ferries is just that they haven't had enough notice to attend. And we had a few hundred people that came from out of town. We kind of kept track of where people came from and who really enjoyed it. And actually, some of them are coming back, and some of them, a few of them asked how they could volunteer. And they live in Beaverton, and they have family here. So they're like, how could we come and volunteer on the weekends? When are you going to do this again? So the feedback was really good. And having the museum open and included in the ticket was really good. People really enjoyed that. And Gabby does a good job in the museum greeting people. The other thing that we have going on is our next merchant meeting will be in 2 weeks, May 14th on a Monday. And we've been working on the new map that is looking really cool. And we'll be getting feedback from the merchants and finding any mistakes and having them correct their own entries, which is a great opportunity for them to get involved. We also have a meeting that is coming up with the merchants where we're going to potentially, I think this is really important for the tourism season that's coming up in October, where they can go to a forum on how to present their social media. Because one of the things on this map is that we're just putting their names and their phone numbers. And as you know, everybody is doing this. And a lot of the information on social media for merchants around town is inaccurate. And so we have a person that is able to do compliance. So they could just run through this and, let the merchants know, by the way, your store says that it's in the wrong location. And what happens when tourists come from out of town is that's really frustrating for them. So I wanted to see if the council would support having that as a tourism activity to kind of upgrade our social media for out of town guests when they come in. I mean, it's for local merchants, so that I want to be upfront about that. But I think it's really frustrating when people come into town and they look something up online and the store isn't even where they say it is.
It needs to be upgraded, but what's the cost?
Well, it depends. It's just, I mean, the initial cost is $500. And it would be for a class that they can sign up for and take. And just write down what they should be doing so that their social media sites match what we say they are. in these maps, for instance, in the maps. So it's more about having a cohesive face when people come from out of town. It's like having the right signage up, that that's free parking and that's not. Or this store is open and that store is not. Or this store isn't open on Mondays, this store is, that kind of thing. So it's about moving around, but it is, you know, to benefit merchants for sure.
Speaking of online, is this map going to be online as well?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Okay. So then we can include maybe websites or Facebook.
Well, and they will go through our own sites and make sure that we don't have errors in the sites, which is kind of a cool thing.
Just sitting here thinking, and it's for them, and I understand. I don't know if they're on board with it and willing to do it. I think it is a good.
Well, I think it would be good for the tourist who's coming from out of town, and looking at this list of restaurants,
Right.
or
Everybody
you
is
know,
on their phone, so
yeah,
I mean, it's just a great way of finding out information.
right.
What do you think, Keith?
Well, I mean, you said it starts at 500, but where will it?
No, that's what it costs to have it, to just, I think it would be important to have a professional do it, because they can bullet point it out. They can take the documents with them and go through it when they go back to their own businesses and make sure, because a lot of times they don't control their own social media sites either. It's like Uncle Joe did it for me 10 years ago, and I don't even know the password. So part of it is having it so Uncle Joe can look at this now and say, oh, okay, we need to change this.
So is that something that you or Stephanie are going to reach out to?
Yeah, I would do it as part of my merchants meetings. But I think it's more
You're not
important.
going to have everybody show up to merchants.
No. But I think it's more important to have a cohesive front when people come from out of town, and not have a town full of mistakes and errors on.
I agree, but so I mean, that's going to be the toughest part. Is.
But if we have the information
getting
that we can
everybody-
give it to them,
Yes.
yeah, then
People are
even
gonna
if they
feel
don't
left
go,
out. See
they
this-
can get
I could
it.
see this going a place where you tried showing up or couldn't talk to the owner. Say, for instance, you kept talking to a worker, so you never really got the legitimate okay. So you left them off the list.
Well, they're all on the list, I think.
Is it something that can be added to or upgraded as we
Oh,
go
yeah.
on? Okay, that's what I needed to hear.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing is I'm planning another Airbnb meeting, because the first one was really successful. We had a number of realtors that came that were really excited about it, and they've contacted me and said, can you do it again? We want to bring our whole group this next time. And, you know, that's one of the things that we talk about with tourism in Oregon, is increasing Airbnb within your community when you don't have, a new hotel being built tomorrow. So I'm planning another Airbnb meeting as well. And Kohai Radio is going to be doing live remotes this whole weekend as well for Festival of the Fairies. I had a meeting with someone who wants to bring the Pirate Festival back in 2019, and as that develops, I'm wondering if there's any chance in changing like the volume. Typically you can't play loud music past 10 o'clock, so they're wondering if they had a concert or something that was going to go past 10 o'clock, if the noise ordinance could be changed in any way for a specific date or a specific time.
Friday and Saturday is midnight.
Okay.
Correct?
It's 10 o'clock, but there's always an opportunity for anybody to ask for a variance, and the process asks that they go to me.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about it. We talk about the plan. And we talk about impact on the neighbors. And I have the authority to either waive it or the noise ordinance or not. So there is a process in place already.
Are they going to have it completely fenced with no access in and out? Are people going to be able to flow back and forth and use some of the local merchants too?
Well, I mean, most of the time passes are good for in and out privileges.
Okay, they weren't last time.
Really, they could just go in and not come out.
It wasn't. I don't remember how it worked, but I remember that they had, for instance, a coffee concession inside. So there was no coming outside for people to do that. I don't remember why.
Okay.
May have been confusion about that too.
Okay. Well, of course, they're going to have vendors in their own area.
Right.
For sure.
And of course, those will be preferred vendors for them, but
As long as there's, I think I'd prefer that if you're working on this, that you, if they're really serious, they come to us and tell us what they have, so we hear firsthand. And not that we don't trust, but we are the ones who are held accountable. Some people,
they are pirates.
Yes. Some
Well-
people said good things. Some people said bad things.
Well, we need to know where this is going to be, because possibly in
I know.
2019, possibly, there could be shovel-ready things going on down there.
I know, that's why
So that's
Not the area they used last time. They didn't go much past Gracie's anyway.
Yep.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
And
faster.
I do believe that it was they brought in the vendors that were on the Strand also, if I remember right.
But if there is any construction in
Yeah.
that area, Keith,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a possibility. The way things are moving, and with
Right.
John's quote,
That's
lightning fast. It's
I mean,
That's our
part
first
of the
priority.
challenge will be that the person that is doing this has not produced a festival before by himself.
So it's not Shuey?
It's not Shuey. And
He's a local guy, the new guy.
yeah. And so he does not, he's been involved in other festivals, but not produced them himself. So there's things that he's going to, probably not anticipate, but that we can definitely give him an outline. And one thing that we have to keep in mind is that, festival producers produce festivals in your town so they can make money. It's not about benefiting necessarily your town. It's about them bringing business to town in a variety of different ways. So I'm not saying that a person that is in town couldn't purchase a booth or be involved inside the area, but to expect that they're going to send business away from their own customers is
No,
probably
to allow it, not to send them, but to allow it.
So I guess
Like
that would just
wristband
be
things
on the
going out.
wristband. Yeah, I'll find out what they're planning on that. But I think that he probably would not have a lot of answers for you at this point. I'm kind of just trying to get your sense of where we think we would be in 2019 and, helping him just navigate some of the waters here that people would not know if you're not doing events here all the time. So.
Well, for me, our development takes first
Of
priority.
course. Yeah. Right. So there would definitely be geographic restrictions that we would want to discuss. And if there's a lot of dust and dirt and stuff around too, I mean, that's something to consider. So
Yeah, is this the Portland Pirate Festival, or is this a new?
there is no Portland Pirate
This is a
Festival
whole
anymore.
new group of people.
It's a yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Because they also had concerns last time.
Who's they?
About the hard ground. Pirates. The organizer of the Pirates Festival.
Anything
They
else?
were- they were sleeping out there.
The group that is not here now had concerns.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking if it was that group or
It isn't.
different
It
group.
isn't. Like they still want to camp overnight in the area. The vendors do and stuff like that. So there's more things to talk about in the future. But I'm just.
Imagine there's some of the same vendors.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, for
Anything
sure.
else, Tina?
I think that is it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So, all I have to report on is, not a whole lot. Things are still going forward with the city, with the waterfront, with, Public Works is out, got a lot of projects going on right now they're overseeing, some private, and they're doing a bunch too, and, I do love reading If I Were Mayor contestant. I love reading those. I got a kick out of it last year, and I liked it this year. I hope next year that we get more participants than what we had this year. It's worth $100, so and just remind people that it's spring. The morel mushrooms are out, and I've got 4 springers now so far. I've caught more than that, lost a few, and released a few natives. But get out and fish. You live right on the Columbia River. You must fish. So that's so. With that, we're adjourned.
Sounds like a tagline. You must fish.